Right, so let's get started. Bonsoir. Bonsoir tout le monde. Bonsoir. Bonsoir. So, yes, this is our pronunciation training workshop for French. Session 2, because we did have a session 1 last year in June, I think. Um, this time we focus on the consonants. If any one of you were fortunate enough for us to be there as well last year, you would have learned with us the pronunciation of vowels in French. So that last time we focused on vowels mainly, and this workshop today, which is going to take an hour, about an hour, is going to focus on consonants. So just let me make sure that everything is clear, my volume is okay. If there's any comments you want to give me, you can, of course, type it in the chat box. I can see it. But otherwise, I would also ask from time to time, any one of you, if you are interested, you can give me some response to the questions that I may ask during the workshop. Of course, questions about the pronunciation of consonants that we are going to talk about. All right, just to get a little bit of interaction, a little bit of practice, um, so that, yes, let's get started, right? So we have about 19 of you today, tonight. So that's good. That's a good number, right? Last time we had almost 70 of you, and it was quite difficult to interact. So let's see how it goes tonight. Right. So it's about consonants, and we'll have a very brief introduction of what consonants are. Our main dish for tonight is les consonnes, les consonnes, which are consonants. And we are going to focus on solving some questions, commonly asked questions that students have about number of consonants, a number of confusing pairs of consonants, because consonants are sometimes quite straightforward because they are in French, consonants could be quite similar to what they are in English. But then there are a number of them, not more than 10, I would say, a handful of them, which are quite confusing, especially for beginners. So I will intend to answer those questions and give examples of how to deal with them. And at last, we will have a little bit of a quiz just to see if all of you have understood what we have talked about today and build on that knowledge, right? So, introduction. I hope you know what consonants are before you enrolled for this workshop. But if not, then consonant is, well, because we are all learning a new language here, we want to learn how to speak the language, not just to learn how to write and read the language, right? So we want to learn how to speak, and we focus on pronunciation. Consonant is what we call a basic speech sound. So when you are saying anything, pronouncing anything, you are making a speech sound. And it is a basic component. You cannot dissect a sound, a speech into a smaller component than consonant. So apart from consonants, we have vowels, right? So with a vowel and a consonant, we may form syllable. And the difference between a vowel and a consonant is when it is a vowel, there is no obstruction of breath. Why is breath important? Because in French, the way we are going to pronounce sounds is by passing through air through the vocal cord and any other organs that form parts of your speech organs, right? So breath could be obstructed by making some kind of shapes of your lips, of your mouth, or putting your tongue to a certain position. By obstructing the air passing through, we make consonants. So vowels are not like that. with vowels, you can simply pronounce an ah for however long you want, right? But with a consonant, you will stop the air from passing through. I give you some examples of vowels combining with consonants, right? So when there is 0 consonants in a syllable, like the first sound here, which is oo, you could pronounce the vowel oo as long as you want. When a syllable has 1 consonant, the consonant could be at the beginning of the vowel of the syllable or at the end of the syllable. So we have a example, tu. So you have the consonant t and then the vowel u. So you pronounce tu. Or it could be the other way around, where the vowel takes the first position of the syllable and the consonant takes the second position, which is the word ut. So this is more obvious of how a consonant works. You pronounce the vowel oo, it could be lasting forever, or you could put a consonant there to stop it. Oot, right? And then I have another example of another consonant, which is the consonant with a R sound. It's not an R actually, R in English, but in French it's a the letter R. So you would say woo. Now, if you compare where all these words that I just went through, tu, ut, and ru, the point we're trying to make here is even you are using the same vowel, u, what consonant you put and which position you put it in the syllable could change totally the meaning of the word. So if you put the T at the beginning, you have tu, which means everything. You have put the T at the end, which is ut, you have August, and you have you put the consonant r, and you have ru, which means a wheel, right? So it could change the meaning. Now, you could have syllables that contain 2 consonants in a row or separated. For example, you can have a combination of t and r together, forming trou. Trou. Trou means a hole. And then outre, you have the consonants at the end. Outre, which means another. Outre, or elsewhere. Outre. And then you have the word route. Route, which means highway, right? So depending on where you put the consonant, it could change the meaning. Now you have 3 consonants in a row. That is actually not possible in French, but you have 2 consonants in a row and you put another consonant at the end. So you have trousse, trousse, which means what you call a pencil case, a trousse, pencil bag, or source, source, which means source. Okay, so we have make use of one single vowel, the vowel u, but if you combine with different consonants, it should give you unlimited number of words actually. Well, is it really unlimited? In French, we have 18 consonant sounds, right? That's the middle row. We have consonant sounds. B, D, G, V, Z, etc., etc. We are going to go through that a little bit later. But how you're going to write those consonants in writing? You need to use the French alphabet, right? So in the French alphabet, we have 20 letters, which are consonants. B, C, D, F, G, H, J, K, L, M, N, P, Q, R, S, T, V, W, X, Y. Z, sorry, I didn't say Y, I said Z. So Y, which is the letter Y, is actually a vowel, not a consonant. It's not written here. And together with R, E, I, O, U, there are 6 vowels in French from the French alphabet, and the other 20 are consonants. So today we are going to focus on some of the 18 consonant sounds. And just to complete the picture, in French there are 3 semi-vowels, or we can call it semi-consonants, because it's half vowel, half consonants, basically. These sounds are pronounced y or y or w. This is not in our scope today, but of course, if you are interested, you can also look this up, right, to see how you should pronounce them. Now, we said there are 20 consonant letters and 18 consonant sounds. So how are they going to match one and another? You can see from the table I've shown here. Wait, did I just... Yes, full screen. Right, if you can see from the table here, for a lot of the consonant sounds is a one-to-one matching relationship. For example, the letter B gives you the B sound. The letter D gives you the D sound, so on and so forth. But then there are some sounds like the S sound, which could be represented by the letter C or S or X in French. For example, the sound K, it could be represented by the letters C, K, and QU. So this is still fine. You can say that why don't we just spell the sounds with the letter S all the time? These are historical reasons, right? But our main confusion is you can see that, for example, the letter C could be pronounced S, and then when should you use which sound? The letter G, which means the letter G in English, letter G could be pronounced the G sound and the J sound in French. So how can you decide when to pronounce which way, right? These are the questions that we are going to go through today. Now, I have put in here the 4 main questions that we're going to ask today. We'll go through them one by one with examples. If after looking at this, you can think of other questions on consonants as well, maybe you can already type them in the chat box, and I can take a look when I have the time, see if we could have the time at the end to go through that as well. All right, but this is what I have prepared. So in French, question number 1, the letter B and P, they sound very similar, right? Not sure if you have done any listening exercise where the speaker tries to spell you a name or a word in French, and you could never tell the difference between B and P. Why are they so similar? And the same could be said about D and T. That is question 1. Question 2. How do you pronounce these letters? Which pronunciation is quite different from what you have in English? So there is the spelling with the letter R, the letter R, or the letter J, which is J in French, the letters CH, CH, and the letters GN, JN. How do you pronounce them if you see them within a word? Question number 3. When is the letter J pronounced like G or J? Similarly, when is the letter C pronounced This should be the pronunciation with the sound s. It should not be pronounced represented by the symbol c. It should be represented by the symbol s. The sound s and k. This and k. And then when should be the letter s be pronounced s and z? Have you ever heard about the voiced z when you spell a word with s? When should you pronounce the letters ll as l? And when should be pronounced like a y, like when you bite your teeth? Y, like in the word yell. Yeah, so y. Lastly, when do you pronounce the last s of a word? So there are lots of silent s in French, right? How can you decide whether a word is with a silent s or whether it should actually be pronounced? There are quite a number of exceptions where you do need to pronounce the letter s. Okay, let's jump right into it. The letter b and p are very similar, and it could be demonstrated by these two words here. You have the word bière and the word bière, which means beer that you drink, and a stone which you can find on the floor, on the ground. Okay, so bière and pierre. The point is the letter P in French is not pronounced so much like the English one, which could be pronounced like a p, p, a very strong puff of sound coming through the lips, right? So p. We don't say Pierre in French. We just say Pierre. So how can you tell? How can you distinguish the two sounds? To help you with that, I would like you to think about these words in English. So we have three words: bark, park, and spark. So how are they different in English? Compare the letter B and the letter P in these words. There is bark, park, and spark. So we can look at the phonetic symbol of these words in English. The word bark is represented by the phonetic symbol B. The word park is represented by the phonetic symbol P. And with a little H on top. What does it mean when there's an H on top? So we can look at the table here. The word bark actually has a voiced, unaspirated B. Okay, so this is very technical. What does it mean? When a consonant is voiced, it means while you pronounce the consonant, there is vibration in your with the organ that you're pronouncing the word, the consonant. So instead of pronouncing ba, you say b, b, b. Okay, you have a little vibration from a vocal cord. So b. That is what it means by a voiced consonant. And it is unaspirated, meaning you can't feel a very strong puff of air coming through. So if you put your hand in front of your mouth when you pronounce the letter B, B, like bark, you can't feel any puff of air coming through. And the letter P in English, in park, is the total opposite of bark. because it is voiceless, meaning there is no b sound. You just say p. You just say p directly. And then there is a puff of air being aspirated. It means you can feel the air coming through. P. If you place your hand in front of your mouth. So in English, the letter B and P are total opposites, occupying the left upper corner of the table and the right bottom corner of this table, you see. But the reason why I would like you to not compare only bark and park, but also to include the word spark is because spark is actually a little bit like a mixture of both. When you pronounce spark, can you feel the puff of air? Spark? Spark? No, you can't. Well, you better try with your hands. Spark. You can't. If you were to pronounce it with a puff of air, then you will have to say something like spark. And I don't think you need to do that. You just say spark, unlike in park, right? So, what is the French P like? The letter P in French is actually like the letter P in spark. So it's unaspirated. That is why you will feel that the letter B and P are so similar in French because they share some common features. They are both unaspirated. You cannot feel a puff of air. However, there is a difference between them because B is voiced. B. While P is not voiced, it's voiceless. So you just say P, B, and P. Okay, let's try with some examples, yeah? On the left, the first row, you have the word bon, bon, which means good, as all of you know, huh? Bon. While on the right, you have the word bon, bon, which means a bridge. So compare the two of them. First pronounce the word with B and then pronounce the word with B. So B first and then P, just to make it clear. Bon, bon, beau, beau, bus, puce, beurre, peur, B, B. Okay, so by going through this exercise, by pronouncing the two different sounds side by side, as in one after another, I hope you can tell the difference between a voiced B and a voiceless B. Another way to do this exercise is, well, you can pronounce the voiceless version first, which means you start from the right and then you go to the left. So you pronounce the voiceless bridge first, which is bong, bong. And the voiced one is bon, bon, bo, 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 bo. Puce, puce, bus, bus. Peur, peur, beurre, beurre. Paix, paix, B, B. Okay, so is it very easy to do it? I think if it is the first time you hear it, you might not even be able to hear it when I just say it. It's also quite difficult. It makes it a little bit more difficult when it is on Zoom because who knows how the internet connection is, right? So, but if you can, ask your teacher, for example, to try to compare these two sounds face to face, it will be much easier for you to understand the difference between a B and a P. But the point here is we don't pronounce an aspirated P in English. In French. We don't say pont. We don't say pot. We don't say puce, peur, paix. No, that's too much. That's too much for French. Okay? So any questions so far? Now, if there is no question, here is the answer to the second part of the question. The letter D and letter T. In French, we call it D and T. They also sound very similar, right? The solution to that is the same as B and P. One of them is voiced. The other is voiceless. They are both unaspirated. So the letter D is a voiced one. So you should say D, 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 like in dans, dans. The voiceless one is ta, ta. There's still ta, a tap by your tongue on the teeth, the back of the teeth. But you don't need to do it like a right, where there is air coming out. It's just a simple the. So you will pronounce the first word as dong, dong. Put them side by side, you will have dong, 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 dong. Okay? The next pair you have douche, 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 douche. And then do, voiceless, do. Voiced, du, voiceless, tu. Voiced, je décris. Voiceless, je t'écris. I repeat the last one because we are combining with the word je. Voiced is je décris. Voiceless, je t'écris. Okay? So, just putting it through. Does anyone want to try, actually? If you want, I can put you on mute, and then you can try, and I can see if that's correct. You can raise your hand if you want, huh? Okay, yes. Okay, so we have one unmute first. So, Geneviève, I think you just unmuted yourself, right? You can try.
Je t'écris. Je t'écris.
Okay, you chose the most difficult one. Okay, that's a very good challenge, right? So, I think from what I hear, you're pronouncing both more like the voiceless T. And I'd agree. The voice one is actually quite difficult because to pronounce to make the vibration while you pronounce the D, it requires practice. While the voiceless one doesn't really require any practice, I would say. So, how can you practice that? You can try to make it longer, make the D sound longer, not the D part. D is not, it's useless to make the last, final part longer. It's by trying to make the vibration a bit longer. Keep the sound in your mouth. L, 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 d. And then finally, you put the D at the end. So, the. Yeah.
Can you
Yes.
pronounce it again, please?
Yes. Okay. So to pronounce the voiced D sound, doesn't matter whether it's with the word dans, douche, do, du, or je décris, right? Doesn't matter. The D sound is D.
The.
D. Yes. Yes. I can hear the vibration at the back. Yes. So that's much better. All right.
Agree.
Yes. So the challenge is then, after you were able to do that, you need to combine it with the word dans, douche, do, du. Okay, so I focus on those parts first. Dans, douche, do, du. Can you try that as well, Genevieve?
Don, douche, do, de.
Okay, yes. So I would say it's a little bit a good and bad some at times, right? So but the last one was the best. So du was the best one you pronounced, right? Okay, so you remember that feeling. And then for je décris, there's actually a trick to this. Why? Because when I say that the letter D is voiced, it is also affected by what goes in front of it. If before the word décrit, there is the word je, which is a vowel, this vowel e, you can actually try to link the je to the décrit. Je décris. Je décris.
Je décris.
Yes. Okay. By linking the to the, you're keeping the vibration in your mouth. Right?
Je
So
décris.
je décris. Je décris. Je décris.
Je décris.
Okay. So if you can do that, how is it different from the voiceless one? It's because when you pronounce the voiceless T, you should not be you should not be linking the je with décrit. Because if you link, you actually adding the voice, adding the vibration to the T and making it sound like a D. Okay? So what would happen is actually je t'écris, je t'écris, je t'écris, je t'écris. Every single time I am treating them as two separate sounds. Je t'écris, je t'écris. This is the voiceless T. For the voiced version is je décris, je décris, je décris. You see, I'm trying to make the transition from the two words very smooth. Okay? So now I describe. Je décris.
Je décris.
Now I write to you. Je décris.
Je décris.
Yes. I think you understood it. I could hear the pause between or a little break, a little jump from je to décris. Yeah. So that's how you can do this. Yes. I actually saw somebody raising his or her hand earlier, but then it's gone. Maybe I will save it for next practice, okay? All right, so let's move on. Okay, so the next question is, how do you pronounce the R, which is the letter R in French? So there are actually many ways for you, many teaching material for you to learn how to practice this online. I mean, you shouldn't really, if you're learning French, you shouldn't really wait for today to learn how to pronounce the letter right? Right? But, okay, so as a very simple shorthand, right? So where the obstruction takes place in your mouth is the back of your tongue. So the back of your tongue is pressed to the roof of your mouth. You're thinking, how do I do that? There are some links here, right? I'm not sure how you can click through the links. Maybe you can take a picture now, right? And then you will see that the people will tell you, well, you better start by putting your tongue, the whole tongue, touching the roof of your mouth first. Let it touch the roof, right? The whole tongue. And then put the tip back downward, all right? Let it put the downward, but keep the back on top of your mouth, right? Touching the roof of the mouth. And then you let air pass through. I always tell my students, if you can't pronounce the sound it is better for you to pronounce the letter H in English than to pronounce the letter R in English. Because in the letter H in English, like in the word house or huge, okay? So house, you let air go through straight from the throat and outside, right? Towards the the open air, right? So the letter R is actually like that, except that you need to press your tongue, back of the tongue to the back of the to the roof of the mouth, right? So it's so every single time you shouldn't be rolling the tip of your tongue. By rolling the tip of the tongue, you are pronouncing either the English R or maybe some other European languages like Spanish R, whatever. Okay, but for the French R, you shouldn't roll your tongue at all. Okay, just let air pass through, as I said, like you're pronouncing the letter H, and let some vibration happen in your throat. I think my tip is when you try to push pressure the back of your tongue. Sometimes you are too stressed for vibration to take place. Relax, let air pass through, and then your throat, the back of the tongue will actually dance with the air. That's what I'll put it. Okay, so that is the letter R and how the letter R is pronounced in words. Okay, so some examples here. The first word is pronounced roux. Roux. The second word, rue. Rue. Rare. Rare. Rond. Rond. Radio. Radio. Revoir. Revoir. Okay, so you really need to practice with the simple ones first. The simple ones are ones where there is only one vowel. So the first one, roux. And actually, if you pronounce it, if you compare roux and rue, the force that you put on your throat is a little bit different because the vowel itself is different. The shape of your mouth is already different. So what I can recommend you while you practice is practice with the different vowels, not just these ones. You have R, E, or U, right? So you try practicing the R sound with ra, ro, ri, re, ru, and even ru, right? So all of these sounds. After practicing pronouncing the single sound R, then you could do, for example, a word where there are two R sound, like the word rare. You have rach, rach. And then try revoir, revoir. Now, that was not actually too difficult if you're just pronouncing the single R sound. If you have another consonant together with it, that's where a lot of students encounter obstacles. So, for example, the word France, you have to say in French, France, France, France. Okay? So the word shouldn't be, because in normal speech, you will pronounce the word in one go. France, vrai, brune, prince, droit, train. This is normal speech. But while you practice, I think you could slow it down. Slow it down by starting the word with the R sound. Instead of trying France, you try France. France. Do not pronounce the F. Just say France. 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 You say it so many times that you are familiar with the sound of France, then you try to combine the France slowly. France, 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 France. You accelerate, you speed up, and eventually the gap is so small that it sounds like one word. France. Vrai, 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 vrai. Brune, 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 brune. Prince, 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 prince. Droit, 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 droit. Terrain, 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 terrain. Okay, so that's how you can practice if you're feeling difficulty about this, right? So, anyone want to try? Let me take one participant. You want to try? Whoever, raise your hand. Is there any volunteer? Yes, I saw one. Okay, Luen. Oh, Li Wei, sorry. Okay, yes. Can you unmute yourself?
Yep, thank you, Melton. France, vrai, brune, prince, droit, train.
I think you are pronouncing them very good. Maybe because we are on Zoom now, only one improvement you can make on the word vrai, vrai, which means true, huh? The one vrai. So I wasn't hearing very clearly the letter v, I mean the consonant v. Can you try that for me again?
Vrai,
Ah,
vrai.
okay. So I am feeling a lot of strength on the consonant v, but actually the point is not to force it too much, but instead to pronounce a vibration by biting your teeth on your lower lip. So like that. You can keep it, maintain it as long as you want. Because it's a voiced consonant, right? So vrai, vrai. So instead of pushing the vrai like that, it's not the point. I want you to pronounce the voiced consonant. It could be very soft, vrai, vrai, but still is a V sound. Can you try that?
Vrai.
Yes,
Vrai.
this sounds much more like it. Yes. Okay, you just need to get used to it.
Thank you very much.
No problem. Okay, so we go on. Okay, so now we have the letter J. The letter J, because you have the letter J, which is pronounced J, like in July, June, January, right? So a lot of students in French, studying French, they pronounce it like letter J. So they say je t'aime. Je. No, not je. Come on. It is pronounced je. Je. So what is it? It's a SH sound, shh, but voiced. So I put the tip here. It is actually same as the sound, the letter S, but not put the sound S, is the letter S in the word measure. You know this English word, measure, right? Measure. So the sound for S is pronounced J. That's how you always pronounce the letter J in French. So you have je, juste, jardin, joli, bonjour, and déjà. The last one is more difficult because you need to you need to link the D, the A sound, make it smooth enough, and combine with the J. Yeah, so déjà, déjà. Okay, one more time. Je, juste. You can also see the shape of my lips. I actually never moved. Je, juste, jardin, joli, bonjour, déjà. Okay, let me move on first, right? And this sound je is to compare with the sound sh. The sound sh is represented by the letter ch in French. Okay, so like in the word chat, chaud, chine, marcher, and blanche. The sh this time is voiceless, so you can't hear any vibration in your vocal cord. It's not pronouncing j. It's a very clear, clean sound, sh, like as if I'm asking you to keep silence, right? Okay, so there is an exception at the end of the table telling you that the letter ch could actually be pronounced a different way. It could be pronounced like a k sound, k, when it is used with consonants. When ch is followed by a consonant, it will be pronounced like a k. So here you are not saying Shresia. I don't know even how to pronounce that. It should be pronounced like a K, so chrétien. Chrétien. This is a little bit like in English where you say Christian. Okay, so makes sense, right? All right, so now we have a comparison of the zh and the sh sound. There are some situations where the letter J is actually pronounced like a sh, and you can see them in these examples. We are pronouncing the word je in a sentence, in familiar speech, when you are speaking French with friends, where you are not in a formal situation. You will hear people, instead of pronouncing je, they will say je sais pas, je t'aime, je t'en prie. Why would they do that? Because it's familiar, casual speech. People tend to be more relaxed, and you try pronouncing the zh sound, right? You need to pronounce a voiced consonant. And when people are, well, let's not say lazy, but when people are more relaxed and they want to rush through the speech, right? They will say, je sais pas, je t'aime, je t'en prie. Okay? I suppose you should not say it in a formal presentation. But if you are speaking French with some French-speaking friends, do say it. Je sais pas. Instead of saying je ne sais pas. If you say je ne sais pas, we know you are learning French for 1 or 2 years. Okay, so this is when sometimes the letter J is pronounced like a sh. Okay, so the next the next confusing sound is the letter JN. Letter JN is not pronounced like a J at all. It is somehow, I think, when the French alphabet run out of consonants and letters, right? And then they need to pronounce the sound that we are going to make. And then they come up with, okay, let's put the letter JN together, right? So how do you actually pronounce this combination? You have to pronounce the N, the N sound, N, and then pronounce Y, like in yacht, huh? Y. So, Y, Y, Y. In the word champagne. So let me slow down. Champagne. 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 Montagne. Montagne. Español. So you're actually pronouncing yol instead of nol. Yol, yol, yol. Español, español. Mignon, mignon, mignon. Soigner, soigner, soigner. Signal, signal, signal. So it is complete. If you compare signal and signal in English, it is totally different. You see, in English you pronounce the G, G, and you pronounce the N, but here you're actually not pronouncing G. You're pronouncing N. Okay? Can I invite somebody to pronounce this? Does anybody want to try? Raise your hand if you want. Oh, yes, Samsung. Okay, so can you mute?
Champagne. Montagne. Español.
Okay, let me comment on this. Espanol is the best I heard, right? So I think for the first two words, you're pronouncing the y very great, right? But I can't hear too much the n. So champagne, montagne. Yeah.
Champagne.
Okay, much better. All right, can you follow up with mignon? Yes.
Mignon.
Yes.
Soigner.
Soigner.
Soigner. Signal.
Okay, yes. Signal is perfect. Okay, that's great. We move on. I do know that I have been reminded of the time, so let me go through this. Now, the question, when do you pronounce the letter G as a G sound? The answer is, there's a rule. If the letter G is followed by R or U or another consonant, you always pronounce it like a G. So quite straightforward, the rule, huh? So gare, gomme, guitare, glace, grand, égalité. I will speed up a little bit, right, because of the time. And then the sound j. When do you pronounce the letter j like the sound j? It is the other two vowels. When it is followed by the vowel e or e, you pronounce j. So génial, girafe, âge, ingénieur, bougie, étagère. The same applies to the letter C. It is pronounced like a k when you have R or U or consonant. Cadeau, comment, cuisine, classe, créatif, and lastly, abracadabra. Okay, so you see the C in the middle, abracadabra. Yeah, like when you want to do a magic spell, so you abracadabra. Yeah. Okay, and what about the s sound? The sound is again when you have the letter E or E. But also know that in French, the letter C can be transformed into a CD with a little tail. So whenever you have the letter C with a little tail, it's pronounced the sound. So in these examples, you have célèbre, cinéma, merci, chanceux, ça, and garçon. Okay, so this table could be quite handy. You see that R, U consonant belong to one group. You have the K and G sound. E and E belongs to one group. You have the S and J sound. When is the combination LL pronounced like a L? in this example, aller, elle, collègue, bulle. No problem. LL pronounced like a L is quite straightforward. But actually, the combination LL can be pronounced like Y. And this happens when there is the letter E in front of it. For example, fille, bouteille, travailler, Y. All right? So you pronounce Y whenever you see the letter E. But then there are 3 exceptions where you need to go back to the L sound, which is mille, ville, and, well, actually there's another exception, but here illimité shows you the exception because this is the adding with the prefix il. So you see the word limité, meaning limited, and the opposite of it, by adding the E sound, becomes illimité, unlimited. Of course, when it becomes unlimited, you shouldn't change the sound into illimité, right? It doesn't work like that. So you still have illimité. Okay? So otherwise, if it is spelled with E-L-L, I-L-L, I mean, right? So it would be pronounced like a Y sound. So the last question is, when do you pronounce the last S? When does the last silent S happen? Well, actually, a lot of French words are where there's an S are silent. It's the rule. This is a general rule. You have the word vous, les, pour, livre. You do not pronounce the S. Toujours, français, surpris. All these words ending with an S, if it is the last letter, you do not pronounce the S at all. But be careful where some words, the S becomes the second last letter because you have français, the masculine version, and française, feminine version. You actually need to pronounce the S like a Z sound, française. Or surpris, in the feminine form, you have surprise. Okay? But that is actually the feminine version, not the last S. The last S remains silent here. Okay? These are the exceptions where the last S is pronounced. There are a bit more than this, but the list is limited, right? So it's exhaustive, right? You can find the list online. For example, bus, tennis, Mars, ours, virus, sens. You have to pronounce the S for these words. Now, what is more difficult is what about if the word, the last S is silent, but you need to make a link. You need to make a link. For example, les heures. You say les heures. Des îles. Ses enfants. Mes amis. 3 euros. So you make a link when you can see all these examples. We start with a determiner, meaning those, for example, articles, possessive adjectives, or number. Okay, and then a noun. You always need to link the S when it's in the plural form. Okay. This page is more interesting. There are some situations where you should link the S. Others, you must not link the S, and I put the answer no there. And there are situations where the linkage is what we call liaison. The liaison is what we call optional. When it is optional, you can pronounce it without linking the S, or you can link the S and is actually more formal. It sounds more formal, sounds more sophisticated for you to do that. So, vous avez a subject pronoun, vous, with a verb that begins with a vowel. You need to make the link. Vous avez. Nous organisons. So what do we mean by subject pronouns? Vous, nous, il, plural form, elle, plural form, they are subject pronouns. However, if you don't use pronouns, if you use the noun itself, like here, les gens, you shouldn't link at all. You can't say les gens adorent. No, it's les gens adorent. Les Français ont. And then with passé composé, the past tense, is optional. You can say je suis entré or je suis entré. Nous sommes allés or nous sommes allés. With adjectives, it also depends on the word order. Petits enfants, grands hôtels, you must link. Personnes âgées or personnes âgées, the noun first and then the adjective comes afterwards. It's optional. Histoires étranges or histoire étrange. Voyages inoubliables or voyage inoubliable. Another link that you must make is when you use the word très, very, very, very important. Très important. Another link that is optional is, this is the last slide I have for these links. C'est un stylo. You can say c'est un stylo or c'est un stylo. Now, we are not making the link for S, of course. We are trying to make the link for T because in French, the liaison can be done with the letter S, the letter Z, the letter T, the letter D, and also the letter X, yeah, a letter N as well, okay? So a number of them, not all, but a number of them. So, c'est un stylo, c'est une voiture, or c'est une voiture. Le match est incroyable, or le match est incroyable. Ils sont amusants. Ils sont amusants. Okay, no problem about this. If you are familiar with one version, keep doing that because it's optional actually. But there's one link that every diligent student might overdo is what about them? El. The word a can never be linked with the next word. So you shouldn't say etel. It becomes is she, the ESTA. But if it is the ETA, which means end, you can never link AL. Okay, so I'll make a pause here. I actually have to stop here. See if there's any other questions from you. I don't see any in the chat box, right? Or any from the floor. If not, I show now on the screen some practice exercises, right? So try doing these at home and see whether you understand what we said today and focus on the links. These links. But not only the links. For example, where we have number 3, the comparison between bière and pierre. Do you still remember that? Or for example, number 5, where we have the double L in bouteille. Do you still remember how to pronounce that? Okay, so I look forward to you pronouncing these words, but only if we meet. So, well, I'm of course teaching some courses in Hong Kong U Space. See if we can see each other in the corridor in our campus, right? If so, maybe you can tell me how well you have learned these pronunciation of consonants, and maybe try 1 or 2 sentences with me. Yeah, or you can always seek your teacher's review of your pronunciation, right? So if there are no questions from the floor, that's all for today. I wish you a very good evening, bonne soirée,
Bonsoir.
et au revoir.